This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby. Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. It might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Member Week is here at Lowe's. Don't miss your chance to get up to 40% off hundreds of items like paint, tools, home essentials, and more. Shop our exclusive deals happening in-store and online now through July 18th. Not a rewards member? Join for free today and get ready to save more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings,
Why are you listening to this show?
the podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Le Batard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for that.
In fact, the only difference seems to be this imaging.
I have been tempted in restaurants just walking past tables to grab somebody's fries that if they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
And now, here's the marching man to nowhere, Fat Face, and the habitual liar.
This episode is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Pablo Torre will be on with us in an hour. That story of his about the NFL colluding, even though an arbiter didn't rule technically that the NFL had colluded, that story is not going away. That story is going to continue to have stuff in it that is going to get found out, that is going to make it more and more problematic, especially since Don Van Natta is now sniffing around the proceedings, the Pulitzer Prize winner. And he's reporting, according to sources, that the NFLPA and the NFL agreed to keep collusion findings secret. And this is obviously problematic for a couple of reasons. And I wanted to ask Hawkins some questions about this before Pablo Torre comes on. But we talked yesterday about DeMaurice Smith having a book coming out. And one of the complaints that many people had about DeMaurice Smith inside of NFL players' circles was that DeMaurice Smith would be the type of person who would write a book when that's not the position that he is in. But very often, when you get a showy lawyer, when you get a lawyer who is interested in whatever, attention, bringing publicity to himself, not just his cause, you get a lot of people complaining about what his interests are. Right now, Lloyd Howell runs the Players Union, and there are reports about him having conflicts with NFL-related businesses because this is a pollutant throughout unions in the big sports where the membership doesn't necessarily trust that the person in charge of the membership is doing the bidding of just the membership. DeMaurice Smith was always accused of being very self-interested or distrusted by his own people, which is sort of, it's a bit inherent to the position,
yes.
right? It happens a great deal, not just to DeMaurice.
I'm happy you said that because out of all the sports, it seems like that is the most difficult one to be head of the Players Association for because of the very nature of that sport being so violent. There are only a few guys that survive in that league long enough to make money. So if you have something like a work stoppage on your clock, the vast majority of your player base is not there for very long. This is their opportunity to make money. If they lose half a season, they're losing potentially 30% of their pro career. So it is very difficult. It's like people forming opinions about the leadership in California, when California is an impossible state to govern compared to some smaller states. So I actually have a great deal of empathy for that position. It seems like it's one of the more difficult ones in sports.
It is, because also there's so many people from so many different interests, right? Like to your point, even about California, like these are people from all over the map that have completely different views on a lot of these things. DeMaurice, in my experience or my, opinion, even while I was a player, was I felt like he always wanted everyone to like him. And again, as someone who's been a part of the NFLPA, like through my family for years, literally almost my whole life, it was like, this is a position where the person at the helm has to have a large amount of I don't give a shit. Like, you can't care if anybody likes you. And when I would get into it sometimes, because I was a player rep, with the union when they'd come in, it was like every time we would visit or they would visit, that it would always be all the great things that, we had or happened or, hey, we had this last CBA deal. This is what we got. This is what we got. But I never felt like they ever talked about all the things and the noise that was happening of like, hey, this is what we lost. This is what the issues would be. This is what the risks are. And I'm like, we can't actually be making a dent in what we're trying to make a dent if we can't call it exactly like it is. And so I would say, hey, don't come in here and tell us about all these great things. Let's talk about the hard things so we can actually make change. Like, that was one of my criticisms. I also think we need to do a better job as football players, or like as a union, I would say, of merging former players and current players. That was my position even as a player, because I feel like experience is one of the most valuable assets in any profession. And by separating, keeping those things separate, the current guys never have that brain trust of information that will help them in their voting and their decision making. And number two is basically using the vehicle that we have to educate the next crop of players. Because even if it does stay how it is, the guys that are in high school now will be voting and making decisions for the guys that are currently in the league. And I know it's like, well, how do you know who's going to get to the NFL? Yeah, it's a crapshoot. You don't really know. But I would tell you, of the top 300 players every year, 45% of them go to the NFL.
So it's somewhat of an indictment to say of DeMaurice Smith he was a little too interested in being liked. A greater indictment to me of him and others in that position is not necessarily that his constituency liked him or didn't like him, but do you or do you not trust him? And this reporting today by Don Van Natta is something that I'm telling you will have more consequences that will result in more discovery, because NFL players are now being informed by reporting that the NFL Players Union actively partnered with the NFL in keeping information away from the NFL Players Union's constituency. And once you get there, now players are asking really uncomfortable questions about, what do you mean you agreed to a confidentiality agreement with the NFL that doesn't give us the information about what you agreed to? What I'm telling you about DeMaurice Smith writing a book, and I understand why people would want it, and I understand why he would do it, especially after leaving. But the personality type who's in that position, who feels a great need to write a book, is exactly the criticism DeMaurice Smith was getting when he had the distrust of some of his clients and constituency, that he was a little too interested in how things looked for him as opposed to the group.
I will say, I had to Google it. I did not know the current NFLPA president at the moment because he's avoided news. And DeMaurice Smith did like the headlines. I don't think he's going to be able to avoid it anymore. I know that that's a criticism, wanting to be liked, but you're literally representing your players. You almost have to be liked by a huge segment of who you're representing. I will say, though, it was curious when DeMaurice Smith became the head of the NFLPA. It was a departure from what the NFL did. That league in particular, the players really put a premium on guys that actually played the game, representing their interests. And DeMaurice Smith did not have that pro player background. I guess that was a moment in time, Hawk, where they wanted someone with presidential acumen and executive level acumen because of the nature of the money that was coming into the business.
Look, and when I say wanted to be liked, I'm not talking about by players. I'm talking about by everybody. And you can't be liked by everybody when you are tasked with the interests of one specific group of people, right? To your point about Gene Upshaw, again, also had his shortcomings at times, but he did not give a shit. He would go toe-to-toe with anyone, and he was a former player, so you never questioned the motives or the things that he cared about deep down, because you kind of identified with his life and his process to get to that point. You have to have a vested interest in what you're protecting. Like, I don't think this is a for-hire job, and you don't have to be a former player to have this job, but I feel like if you're making putting your hat in the ring for this very high-paid, very visible role, I need to be convinced of why you truly give a damn. Because that's what's going to matter, because this is hard. You're going to battle against billionaires in a business where you don't have leverage.
But take me inside your home as I give you this information. You're an NFL player, and I inform you, hey, there was a confidentiality agreement between the NFL and the NFLPA about how it is that collusion sort of happened, and that information was kept confidential, at least in part, so that the players wouldn't know what their union representatives had done on their behalf. Now take me, you're an active player and I send you that information. Am I already, just by virtue of what it is I've told you about the entire history of all this, do you not have confirmation bias? Are you not already in a circumstance where you distrust your union leadership and therefore this information arrives and it is confirming your bias? I do not trust the people who represent me.
I think you I won't even say that. I would say the current players that you have to realize, and this is what I'm talking about of the way the system is set up, right? As a football player in the NFL, and I don't give a damn like if you're the last guy on the roster or you're making $50 million a year. It is hard to make the most of that and make as much money as you can without solely being focused there. Now, there are people who can have a foot in both lanes. So if you're asking me about current players, and every time I hear this conversation, whether it's on podcasts or whether it's, in the news or these things arise, you'd be surprised at how many current players aren't clocking this conversation because they drafted a guy at my position and I'm on the bubble. Or they're starting to give this guy more targets than me because they want me to take a pay cut or they're going to cut me if he has a bigger season than me. And I got to wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow and I got to do recovery. And I'm going to train till 1 o'clock, and I got to go eat. And it's just, I have kids. It's not as, big picture when you're in it as you think it is. That's typically because on the outside, you guys are seeing the big picture because we don't report on the day-to-day of what it takes to be an NFL player or the things they're considering and whatnot. And former players, they care more about it because they're on the other side. They no longer have the health insurance. They're no longer getting the $100,000 a game or $500,000 a game checks that they got for 8 years, 5 years, or what have you. And now they're like, well, I wish we would have done this. But even in that moment, if I could go back right now as a 39-year-old back in the NFL, and I would say, man, would I focus more on that? I wouldn't, because I think about the ways I could have made $10 more million. I don't think about, man, I wish I would have dug more into the CBA. And that's where I'm saying the system and how it's set up is not conducive to take those strides. So every time everyone else is surprised by it, I'm more surprised that you're surprised by it.
Well, the thing about your perspective, though, as an unrelenting survivor, and that makes sense, you're saying, look, I had to concentrate on the daily micro. I couldn't do the historic macro of perspective. Mm-hmm. And the grand majority of players in the league are more like you than the ones who are making the big money.
Right,
but if I were making the big money and I had my safety and I was not worried about the day-to-day survival and this arrived on my on my information highway and I'm a person who is expecting my union leadership to represent me, I would immediately start asking an assortment of questions about what do you mean my own people were withholding information from me about possible collusion in my league?
Hawk, this one does seem a little bit easy from the player's perspective. This is collusion to keep everybody down at the highest level. I think people even at the lowest levels, it's not the disconnect that you'll have from a guy that's on the practice squad to Russell Wilson money. Mm-hmm. This is ownership groups and front offices getting together to keep wages down, and it doesn't time up with a work stoppage.
But it's not.
This seems like an easy win for the players to rise up.
Mike, it's not just to keep wages down, which is bothersome enough. It's not just that this happened 2 days after Deshaun Watson's guaranteed money, which is problematic enough. I'm more bothered if I'm a representative, if I'm somebody who's being represented by, I'm trusting because of the daily fight that Hawkins is talking about. Mm-hmm. I got to concentrate on beating my one guy in front of me because we're fighting over the same money. I'm mad that in any way my union is collectively bargaining a limit on my guaranteed money. But I'm angrier still that they entered into an agreement with the NFL where they didn't want me to have information, never mind money, just total information on what my situation is.
Right. Normally when the NFLPA and the NFL come to an agreement, you see the benefit for the players. I'm struggling to wrap my head around, like, what is the benefit of this secret agreement in which we have evidence that there was collusion to keep wages down, to collude against fully guaranteed contracts, because everyone outside of the sport and within the sport says, well, the Deshaun Watson contract kind of breaks the system a little bit. Are they going the way of NBA with guaranteed contracts? I really don't understand what the players gain from the NFLPA not making a huge mess of this situation, because great investigative reporting has kind of caught them red-handed, and it seems as though they put it on a wayward arbiter, but more and more evidence is stacking up. Do you think Roger Goodell is in his offices seeing daily news, whether it be about Bill Belichick, the game's greatest coach, or now this, and just crumples up a paper and says, "Get me the Batman," and it's popular?
Hey everybody, it's Mike. Down here in South Florida, as the audience well knows, we've been celebrating a proper championship, and we've been enjoying every minute of it. And by my side throughout that entire championship celebration has been Miller Lite. Yeah, I wanted to make my championship time a Miller time because, much like most of the fun memories I've had as an adult, Miller Lite has been right there by my side, supplementing every experience. And now that I'm about to travel during the summer, you can rest assured I'm going to be having plenty of Miller Lite along the way, because that's what summer's all about. And since 1975, Miller Lite has been right there in all those memories for you listening right now. It's the 50th anniversary of Miller Lite. That's 50 years of great taste, great friends, great moments. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Cheers to 50 years of Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
All right, everybody, this is a wild one. For the first time ever, we've got a full-blown all-women's boxing mega event going down in New York City. 2 title fights, same night. And if you're like me and live for the action, DraftKings Sportsbook is where it's at. Never bet with DraftKings before? It's super simple. Just pick who you think is going to win, and that's it. Here's the kicker. New customers can bet just $5 and instantly get $150 in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use promo code Dan. That's promo code Dan for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
On WhatsApp, no one can see or hear your personal messages. Whether it's a voice call, message, or sending a password. To WhatsApp, it's all just this. So whether you're sharing the streaming password in the family chat or trading those late-night voice messages that could basically become a podcast, your personal messages stay between you, your friends, and your family. No one else. Not even us. WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone.
Don Batard. Mike Ryan's in there, and he's the one with a baby. He's the one who's got to, worry about what the future is. And Mike Ryan bet on DraftKings because Mike Ryan bet on us. This is the bet you're afraid of doubling down on? Putting up a billboard in Edmonton?
Stugotz. I care more about Matthew Tkachuk than I do my daughter.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz.
The thing that I'm bothered by if I'm an NFL player on this is the idea that in any way my union representative isn't treating the NFL as an adversary. that they're entering into partnership with somebody to keep information from me. They're entering into partnership with my adversary to keep information away from me. I'd be asking a lot more questions if I was a player with guaranteed money in that league who had been evidently, reportedly betrayed by their management.
That's tricky. Yeah. That's tricky for me. I get what you're saying because the owners in that, any potential work stoppage, the owners are always going to be viewed as the enemy, but it is a partnership. We're an independent media company that has several partnerships. I can't think of one that works with being adversarial. We had one of those when we were employees at Disney between management and us, and it wasn't for long. So I don't know how you make it work by viewing things through that prism. Like, this is my enemy when they're partners in a billion-dollar industry.
You tell me, Hawk, because I think that DeMaurice Smith, when he writes a book calling Roger Goodell a cold, dark void, like, he's telling you afterward. We were adversaries. He was telling you during that they're adversaries. Like, he works for the players. He does not work for the league. He's not making money that the NFL is giving him. The players are giving him a percentage of their money to protect their interests.
Like, it was also that was a huge inflection point for the league when DeMaurice Smith had it, too. Not only is it a hard job, but I think on his watch, when you have the concussion issues, the business absolutely booming to the point that it becomes one of the more profitable business ventures in the world, it was a unique time in history. It's like being in charge now on the forefront of AI blowing up. Like, how do you lead? There's no playbook exactly for this. Mm-hmm. When that concussion study came out, that was unprecedented. It was something that was talked about, but they didn't have the data behind it.
When Hawkins talks about the way the system works against the player, I want you to understand that what you're trying to do with a lawyer is ask for impeccable morality and ethics in a situation that is ripe for contamination because the player is so busy focused on his or her day-to-day and very often has spent so much time trying to get to the top 1% of that 1% that they're not spending generally a whole lot of time thinking about business union issues. They have people that they're giving substantive percentages. DeMaurice Smith retires as a very wealthy man off the bodies of others because his job is to make sure that his employees have the maximum amount of information to know that they're being well represented by him. But I'm telling you, it's a group of people, not just football players, but athletes in general who have to beat other athletes for money. They're particularly susceptible to not having the correct information before they're betrayed by the people who they're paying to make sure they have the correct information.
I couldn't believe yesterday that Zaz said he wasn't interested in this book. I find this topic in particular, and I think I can code it with understanding what D. Smith's agenda is. I'm really interested to read this book with my ears.
I don't think it's a book that a union head should be writing. I don't think that a union and I say this, like, Marvin Miller wrote books and changed the way that finances work, but Marvin Miller didn't agree to a salary cap. Like, Marvin Miller didn't agree to fixed costs that make it so these owners can collude over guaranteed money because they can't actually control themselves. The system controls them. And in this particular case, you have to have an honest broker representing the NFL players. They need the representation because so few of them, for example, have law degrees.
I'm also just fascinated by the narrative around DeMaurice Smith that paints him as a bad guy. I'm like, well, when we were trying to pick sides during those work stoppages or talks of work stoppages, the enemy was Roger Goodell. And Roger Goodell has gotten more popular, navigated a moment in time around Ray Rice where people were calling for his job, and it seemed to have real positive momentum, that his job was genuinely in jeopardy, and the game was more boring. Offenses were stagnant. You had Peyton Manning winning Super Bowl 50 in what was one of the worst seasons in NFL history in terms of how to view the game and the viewing experience for the fan. He navigated that, and Roger Goodell, I think, has actually done a pretty good job. If you look at the landscape of sports, and this may have more to do with Adam Silver's recent shortcomings, he's gone somehow from categorically consensus worst commissioner in sports around the time of Ray Rice to now you look at it, it's like, damn, is Raj the best?
He was kicking DeMaurice Smith's ass for 10 years, man. You got to appreciate greatness. He's like Tom Brady. Like, they were in a head-to-head battle, And if that's what this book is about, then that makes more sense.
How I got my ass kicked by Roger Goodell.
I'm not surprised by. I'm not interested in the book, not because I don't, I have an issue with DeMaurice Smith, but I don't care about the words. I can see what the actions were when these issues arose, or what we fought for, what we didn't fight for, what was a big deal, what was painted to us as like, oh, don't worry about this, and then it ended up being something we absolutely should have worried about. And to your point, even about this, again, there's more information that I'm sure will come. Union representatives better have a bunch of questions. They better get as much information as possible. And to your point, there better be a damn good reason why you signed a non-disclosure agreement that maybe you can talk about in those rooms. And they should make the decision to say, okay, is this valid or is it not? But the interesting part about this, and the reason why the system is always hurtful, is because in the NBA, to your point about partnership, the NBA PA and the NBA have a true partnership because it is a face player-driven league. If Steph Curry doesn't play a certain amount of games, if LeBron doesn't play a certain amount of games, I didn't come to the Warriors game to not see Steph Curry. I'm not coming to the Heat arena not to see Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. I'm coming for them. In the NFL, it's the Shield. These are recyclable names. The moment I get traded, my jersey number goes to the next person, and Hawkins is forgotten in the Browns, right? Like, yeah, we have some affinity for him, but we are following.
Never forgotten.
Never forgotten. We're following the Browns. We're following the Dolphins. This is my team for 30 years. It was my grandfather's team, so on and so forth. The faces of the league are the quarterbacks, right? And the 32 quarterbacks are paid the most handsomely. They're the ones in the locker room who have a relationship with the owners. They don't come and talk to a lot of players. Most owners, not all owners, but most of them will have a relationship with the quarterback, the face of their franchise. And if we keep them happy by making sure they get their money and they are handsomely played, they're going to be less likely to jump into these union fights or fight for rights of whatever. And I understand it because I'm paid. I don't want to mess up the gravy train that I have for me and my family. Now, on this guarantee, yeah, it trickles down, but the first direct impact is exactly those guys. It's you guys. It's you guys that they're trying to limit the guarantees of in this report or whatever they're asking about. So that's going to be the interesting thing for me, because now you have an issue that affects them being the highest paid faces of the league more than it affects the other 1768.
You mentioned Tom Brady. You also used the word handsome in the middle of handsomely paid. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady is having a winning summer. Tom Brady doesn't often have off seasons. Tom Brady suffered about as much criticism as he's ever gotten last year during the football season. Pretty close to it.
That's the only thing close to an L I think he's got.
His broadcasting career has had some criticism in it that is louder than almost all of the other criticism that he would have had. But now people are following his dating habits. And what is the latest that has been reported on Tom Brady after he won the Fanatics games, the Michael Rubin games of celebrity winning?
Yeah, he's having a great offseason. Now, I don't know how many offseasons Tom Brady has ever had, but even in retirement, the dude cannot stop winning. He's been spotted in Ibiza with Sofia Vergara. Happy birthday to her, by the way. He was seen palling around, reportedly, with Sydney Sweeney at Jeff Bezos' wedding, photographed on a yacht with Kate Hudson. Tom Brady is having a Tom Brady-like offseason.
A happy birthday to Sofia Vergara.
Happy birthday to her. I don't care. Good luck.
53, I believe. That's nuts.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Knowing you could be saving money for the things you really want, like that dream house or ride, is a great feeling. That's why the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you save when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
The summer is heating up with Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four.
Light 'em up, Johnny!
On July 25th.
Time to save the planet.
What's the plan?
Trust me. I hate that plan.
It's a bad plan. Come on.
Terrible.
That's a stupid plan.
Prepare for fantastic.
We will face this together as a family.
Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four. First steps. Only in theaters July 25th. Rated PG-13. Some material may be inappropriate for children under 13. Get tickets now.
Have you ever spotted McDonald's hot, crispy fries right as they're being scooped into the carton? And time just stands still. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Don Le Batard.
It's a Judge Coach, sweetie.
Stugotz.
I should go say hello.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Speaking of birthdays, let's get John C. Reilly, please, singing happy birthday, of course, to Jack White from the pitching mound in Detroit, please. Let's see what we have here. John C. Reilly, universally funny. Let's see what he did here.
To my friend Jack White, on 3, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Come on, Detroit. Happy birthday to you.
Speed it up.
Happy birthday, dear Jack.
Was that like a first pitch that he just was like, give me the mic? Like, he seems to be out there to throw out our first pitch.
My skin is crawling with how slow that took. I was embarrassed for Jack White.
Jack White was embarrassed. Why was John C. Reilly wearing a full Detroit Tigers uniform with a scarf? It appeared there was a scarf in there.
Hiked up pants. He had the stirrups almost.
Was it For the Love of the Game? Is that the name of the movie where John C. Reilly produced what I believe to be the single least athletic thing ever produced by an actor in a sports movie? John C. Reilly is the catcher of the Tigers, tried to catch a foul ball, ran straight toward the back wall, did so very clumsily, very poorly, caught the foul ball, but they had to have done 1,000 takes of that because he clearly did not have anything in the way of athleticism. Is that indeed a scarf underneath his Tigers jersey?
It's a
kerchief. Ascot.
Might be an ascot.
It might be an ascot.
Maybe he's dressed like the 1933's Detroit Tigers. Was that a team then?
It does look like a bit of Black Sox era uniform, the Tigers have the best team in baseball right now, right? Because the Dodgers have lost 6 straight games, so I'm assuming the Tigers have won more games than anyone in baseball. It's a popular time in Detroit for Detroit baseball, but For the Love of the Game is the name. I always want to do the show least athletic things that you've ever seen in the movies because Basketball Diaries with Leonardo DiCaprio, the way that he dribbled a basketball, the way that Michael Fox, or in any sitcom really, or anything from Will Smith, anything that was being done by what was his name, Alfonso Ribeira in
Ribeiro.
Oh, disculpa.
And Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, Michael J. Fox. But the dribbling of you would agree that sitcom basketball, anytime you've ever seen a basketball game played on sitcom television, it is never something that feels authentic.
It's terrible. It's the one sport that this guy is not athletic. He does not know what he's doing. Is you put somebody on a football field, they can kind of run around, you can kind of get away with it.
That's Cap. Go ahead.
Well, but Hawk, you're talking about dribbling a basketball.
No, it's hard. No, it's immediate that you're not a basketball
when you're running a route,
player.
okay, like you can kind of pan away and whatever. The moment you start dribbling a basketball like this, we got issues.
You guys would agree, though, that sitcom television does a particularly poor job of making its basketball players look like they've ever played basketball before.
100%.
Yes.
Famously. In football, it's really bad. Like, if someone is cast as a quarterback, none of them can throw.
Keanu Reeves did not give off quarterback in the replacements.
Famously, Diddy was originally cast to play Willie Beeman. What? And, like, he got it without even an audition, and then they put him on the football field, and the story is he couldn't throw it all, and that's how Jamie Foxx got the job.
Any Given Sunday football, top notch. That's top notch film and television sport right there.
There was an eyeball on the field. It was unrealistic.
Orlando Brown.
You've never seen an eyeball get knocked out in a game?
Were we buying Bernie Mac as a great hitter in Mr. 3000?
It's a fine choice by you, but Mike is bringing up something I'd actually like to talk about. What is less realistic in television sitcoms or television in general? The recreation of the football or the recreation of basketball? Because Mike's saying football is harder, and he might be right, because when I think about it, I would imagine that football would be harder to make realistic because you're making giant hits realistic. But honestly, when I think of it first, I think basketball is the thing I've seen represented most poorly in things like The Fresh Prince.
Man, it's tough.
I think it's a throwing motion is just so easy to spot. I mean, although
ask Tony, he tried out for FIU. They knew right away dude couldn't do it off of the throwing motion. It was almost immediate.
I gotta tell you, Danny McBride and Eastbound and Down, that was bad. That's really, really bad.
Well, I told you guys that Adam McKay mentioned that Danny McBride, it took him a year just to get him to throw that well. Kenny Powers, it took him 1 year. 1 year to teach him how to look like he was throwing a baseball from a pitching motion because he's got no athleticism. None. Zero. Didn't know how to throw a baseball. Didn't know how to hold a glove.
Imagine if Kenny Powers played basketball and how long it would have taken him to look somewhat competent dribbling a basketball from here to there.
All right, put it on the poll, please, at Batard Show. Hardest thing to recreate authentically on a television show. Basketball, baseball, or football. Go ahead and make your choice. Stugotz is in Tahoe. He has arrived. We are telling you here consistently that Stugotz is building his own empire, his own business with God Bless Football and Stupidity. He has arrived in Tahoe. He is interviewing all of the people, all of the athletes in Tahoe. He goes every year. He is at the center of his own chumminess. He loves going there. He got together with Matthew Tkachuk, Gary Sheffield, and others. Let's play some sound with him just going way overly chummy with Matthew Tkachuk, which I'm not totally sure he would have recognized if Taylor didn't ID him for Stugotz.
Penalty shot for your life. I want you to think about this, okay? TJ Oshie, who is here, or Wayne Gretzky.
Oh.
Penalty shot for your life, okay?
I'm probably going. That's so tough. I feel like I saw somewhere once that Gretzky said he didn't like breakaways, which I find that I find that that's not true. One of my favorite moments in sports history was watching Oshie in the 4 shootout goal game. So I'm going to take Oshie.
Okay.
He
Good
lives.
choice. You're living. Yes, you're alive. You're on the Mount Rushmore of South Florida sports. How does that feel to you, man? I put you there.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yes.
It takes a village, and I'm just lucky to be surrounded by tons of great people.
I can't tell who was more insincere there, Chucky at the very end, Stu or Chucky. I mean, Stu put him in quite the spot. There's no way Stugotz believes that.
How did he not kill him for choosing over Gretzky?
I gotta say, Oshie is the right call there.
It's not the right call.
Yeah,
He won a gold medal.
Oshie's the right call.
His
there.
game, Dan, not yours.
Hey, that was one of the greatest American moments. It's like Washington crossing the Potomac.
He lived, so he got it right.
Captain America.
They went to TJ Oshie multiple times in a shootout. We didn't even know that was an allowable rule, and he put a country on his back. TJ Oshie is the best.
I understand your passion here. I didn't think I would have to scream this with my headset off.
Should I take my headset off too?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Gretzky! Like, what are you doing?
I would take Pavel Bure over Gretzky on a breakaway too.
Wow.
Yeah, easy. Easy. I mean, Gretzky, as Tkachuk alluded to, Gretzky himself said he didn't like breakaways. That's not TJ Oshie in a penalty shootout situation. I think is famously better than Gretzky. And Gretzky, I mean, to his credit, didn't have many penalty shot moments. And TJ Oshie is the most famous.
Is famously better than Larry Bird at shooting 3-pointers. I think the most Larry Bird ever made in a season was 81 of them. I think.
Where you
Do I
going
have
with
that?
this?
Do I have it wrong? No. That if someone selects Steph Curry over Larry Bird, Stugotz immediately kills them because Larry Bird, reputationally, that's where Stugotz always goes consistently.
Yeah, but this isn't exactly Max Kellerman saying he would take Iguodala over Steph Curry. This one makes sense because TJ Oshie is quite frankly, the most famous for penalty shots.
Steph Curry also makes sense because he is the most famous at making three-pointers and the best shooter ever.
Steph Curry is the right answer for your life over Larry Bird.
Larry Bird had 98 three-pointers in 87-88.
But he's a specialist. It's like Jorginho, not fast, not gifted, not one of the GOATs of his generation. Penalty shot specialist. Mike. People would take Jorginho in some cases over even Ronaldo, as ridiculous as that sounds.
Mike, you're factually right. What does that have to do with anything that we're talking about? Because he will kill anyone who selects Steph Curry over Larry Bird, and it has nothing to do with facts.
Right. Okay. No, I understand you pinning him down on this.
situation.
You don't understand, though, this is a Tahoe thing. TJ Oshie is probably within earshot, and he's just trying to butter him up.
Well, I saw all of you wince at Stugotz and also smile at him saying to Tkachuk, you're on the South Florida Mount Rushmore, in excessive chumminess that you guys all believe to be an insincere lie.
I also don't think if we asked Stugotz how many people are allowed on Mount Rushmore, he would actually know the number. So that I am defending him there. If you asked him, he'd say, I don't know, like 13?
Yeah, he's confusing Mount Rushmore with the Appalachian Mountains. There's a bunch of them. You just continue to add them.
Quick comparison, Steph Curry made 402 three-pointers in the 15-16 season.
Before we get to our popular new game, let's just get some more Stugotz. He sat down with Gary Sheffield. I tell all of you, please, on YouTube, StuTube, find God Bless Football, find StuTube, find Stupodity. Let's play
YouTube.com/@Stugotz790.
It's very easy, Mike. It comes up immediately. All you have to do is you could do Stugotz 790, but it's not hard to find it all on
Apparently, it's hard to remember for you.
It's StuTube. It's very easy to remember. Let's hear Stugotz and Taylor with Gary Sheffield in Tahoe.
Chef, Stugotz has his personal record book where he kind of keeps score.
Okay.
We have a batting stance Hall of Fame.
Right.
You're first ballot. So first off, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. Second, who else would you kind of put in the category of batting stances that you've seen that have been like, that's a great batting stance as a batting stance Hall of Famer?
I always talk about this guy, and he's on my top 5 list of one of the best baseball players of all time. And I defined it by not just based on stats alone. It's based on, do they pitch to this guy?
Right.
And this guy, Jeff Bagwell, they didn't pitch to him.
But you love the batting stance of Bagwell.
Bagwell had one of the best batting stances. And I would spread out like that. That's why it dawned on me.
Gary, it was terrifying being at the stadium when you were up. I mean, if you were sitting on the third base side, it was terrifying.
Yeah. When I saw Bagwell for the first time, I said, that's my guy.
Right.
See, we're not no big guys. We're kind of undersized compared to these big guys. And he was almost hitting going backwards.
Right.
But he stayed in his legs so well, and I was the same type of hitter. I had to hit with my legs to generate power, and I just thought he was one of the best.
Man, I want to listen to that podcast.
Was that Archie Manning walking behind them?
The gate did kind of resemble that of Archie Manning. We can run it back the way that we could look at the lawn-darted golf player. But, man, I could listen to Gary Sheffield critique other batting stances from the 90s and early 2000s for the rest of my life. And he had a great answer. Ooh, so that might be...
That is Archie Manning.
You think so?
That is Archie Manning.
He is a tall man.
Yes.
Look at me.
Wow, dude.
I believe that's pretty good. It might be too young to be Archie Manning, though. It might be too young. Let's get in there close.
No, damn it.
You know what?
I was right.
It's just a white guy.
I was like Jim Furyk. I'm sorry.
It's
that
Jay
is
Billis.
Clearly no. I'm sorry. You came so close, but unfortunately, it's just Matthew Modine. I'm so
It does look like Modine.
Hey everybody, it's Mike. Down here in South Florida, as the audience well knows, we've been celebrating a proper championship, and we've been enjoying every minute of it. And by my side throughout that entire championship celebration has been Miller Lite. Yeah, I wanted to make my championship time a Miller time because much like most of the fun memories I've had as an adult, Miller Lite has been right there by my side, supplementing every experience. And now that I'm about to travel during the summer, you can rest assured I'm going to be having plenty of Miller Lite along the way, because that's what summer's all about. And since 1975, Miller Lite has been right there in all those memories for you listening right now. It's the 50th anniversary of Miller Lite. That's 50 years of great taste, great friends, great moments. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Cheers to 50 years of Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.